มสาระความรู้ก่อนใครได้ที่ RSU Wisdom TV ทางระบบทีวีดาวเทียมหรือผ่านแอปพลิเคชัน RSU Wisdom TV ดาวน์โหลดแอปพลิเคชันได้ที่ Google Play และ App Store
Back to the show, ASEAN Challenge. Next up in ASEAN interview, we speak to another very special guest to tell us about the ASEAN political situation. Right now, 2015 is a year of a lot of political changes.
Exactly.
So Dr.Kietkamjorn will come and join us to tell us about ASEAN politics and what's the outlook for ASEAN.
ในช่วงสุดท้ายนะครับอาเซียนอินเทอร์วิวก็จะมาพูดถึงประเด็นทางด้านของการเมืองในอาเซียนกันเข้มข้นในหลายประเทศทีเดียวนะครับ
Let's go listen. Joining us for ASEAN interview this week is Professor Dr.Kietkamjorn Meekanon, a Rangsit University lecturer of ASEAN integration and political economy in Southeast Asia, to tell us about the political, economic, and various outlooks around ASEAN. And so joining us, Dr. Kietkamjorn, สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีครับ
Thank you very much for joining us today.
Okay.
Well, starting off, first and foremost, let's talk a bit about Singapore. The government party is still ruling the country, even though it's a very, very pivotal year for Singapore. But in your opinion, what do you think about this? What can we expect in terms of the positive and, say, the negative outlooks?
The positive outlook, because the government party, especially the People Action Party, they rule the country quite efficiently and effectively. However, people are still not satisfied with the policy, many policies like immigration policy. So that's why they express their opinion through the election in 2011. So the vote, the approving rate and the voting rate is very lowest turnouts in many years, only 60%. And after the death of Lee Kuan Yew, I think people are sympathized with the government, so they vote higher than in the election 2011 elections.
Right.
So this is a reason, but could be better or worse. It depends, because the government, when they rule the country for a long time, they may become complacent, a little bit arrogant. They may not listen to the voice of the people enough. So now I think in the election of 2011, people really punished them. So now they realize. So they changed the policy, especially about the immigration policy. They tightened the policy, because before 2011, they encouraged the immigrants, mostly from India and China, to counterbalance the growing population of Malay race. But you know, people from mainland China or from India, they are quite different from Indian Singaporean and Chinese Singaporean to certain degree. Yep.
Right, so definitely Singapore is one example of many countries in ASEAN that are experiencing a government that's been, you could say, administering the country for a very long time, which is also reflected in many other ASEAN countries as well. In terms of immigration, though, definitely a big topic the government has to campaign toward. But talking about the future of Singapore now, especially in terms of that multicultural problem and immigration, like you mentioned, what do you foresee in the future after elections?
After election, if the government listen to the voice of people, I think they will keep themselves going. But if they don't listen, it's really difficult to manage a country. You have to know, in Singapore, the best and the brightest people are still leaving the country, right? Because of the atmosphere is not really creative, and the ruling party, they focus on efficiency rather than creativity. So this is the problem. And it may be worse. It may be worse if the leader is not strong enough. Right? So it depends, because Singapore now is changed from one-man show to more collective style. So let's see what will happen. Right.
Definitely. So lots to look forward to, but at the same time feel apprehensive about in Singapore in the near future in terms of immigration, business opportunities, and kind of the brain drain, as you mentioned. Talking a bit more about Singapore and its relationship to Thailand. Thailand is a friendly country for many ASEAN countries, and in terms of a shift in both countries' leaders, what do you expect in terms of the relations between both countries? Will it deepen, perhaps?
It will be always the same, right? Because both countries rely on each other, right? Singapore rely on Thailand in terms of security, especially their national security and natural resources, and they have to import a lot of products from Thailand.
So food security.
The food, also national security, like in terms of military. Also, Thailand is like the buffer, right, from the threat from the north, right? But I will not mention the country. But also, Thailand also rely on Singapore on financial and economics matters. Many Thai big companies, they raise money from Singapore, and Singapore is like a channel for money flowing in and flowing out in Thailand to some degree. So we rely on each other. So I don't expect any shift in the relationship between Singapore and Thailand.
What do you think could be done in order to deepen bilateral relations between both countries?
I think it will be the same, not really better and not really worse.
So there's really not much we can do to elevate that.
Yeah, because it's really stable. I think the relations.
Stable is good.
Yeah, I don't see any significant shift in the near future.
All right. Well, shifting from Singapore over to another big island this time in terms of Indonesia with a new leadership seen in Jokowi, what changes have you been seeing so far? What patterns in politics in Singapore? Positive or negative changes?
You mean Indonesia?
Indonesia.
Indonesia, I think Jokowi policy is more business oriented. Like he tried to deregulate deregulate the economy, and you have to understand, like Indonesia is the leader of ASEAN because they are the most powerful country in ASEAN in terms of economy and military. So anything happen to Indonesia really affect the other country in ASEAN. Because when we have a problem, like Thailand and Cambodia have a border dispute, like Indonesian leader always come to be the mediator,
right.
arbitrator or mediator, right? Because they are the leader of ASEAN naturally. Yep.
Right. So with that said, do you see any kind of more opportunities to develop a relationship with Indonesia for Thailand?
Yes, I think because our relation with Indonesia is pretty good, right? So I think Jokowi will want to improve the relationship, especially in terms of business relationship with all the countries in ASEAN. I think he has a very good business outlook.
Right.
Yeah, but his reform or change is a little bit slow.
Right.
Because he faced a lot of opposition, especially from the old regime of Suharto. Because Suharto business network is still entrenched there.
Right, so there's a lot of navigating for Jokowi to do all around the different related agencies.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
They have a lot of problem in cooperation between the agency, and they need to improve the manpower, especially in the bureaucracy. Yeah, that's what the problem in Indonesia.
Right, navigating bureaucracy is always a challenge.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, navigating the haze is also another challenge for various authorities. Jokowi is definitely working hard to tackle the annual problems of haze, which has definitely domino affected other nations nearby like Malaysia and also Singapore. So, in your opinion, could this problem affect the relationship between countries to this point?
Because Indonesia is too big, right? So I think Singapore and Malaysia, to some extent, still, like reluctant to raise this issue openly. because of like concept of gotong royong, mushawara mufakat, like the consensus. Right? So I think both countries do not want to disrupt this relationship. But of course, they will voice some concern because they face it every single year.
Right. And this year also quite bad, particularly because of the haze problem extending itself likely to November.
I see. Yeah,
Right.
that's true.
So definitely, while a lot of the opposition and dissent could be, or discontent could be muted, but of course there's going to be a lot of build-up in that resentment over the years.
But you have to understand, like Indonesia have already decentralized the country, so all the government of every province are elected.
Right.
So you understand, like, so they have some freedom, and some power to do something to some degree.
True.
So I think the decentralization of Indonesia can contain some discontents.
Right.
Yeah.
At the same time, while Indonesia is very decentralized now, as you said, the country has also worked itself to unify itself in the past. So how do you see the unfolding of Indonesian politics with this kind of decentralization? Will it be difficult to control?
I think so far they still can control this decentralization, but the problem will cause some complicated, cause some complication for doing business, because when you're doing business in different provinces in Indonesia, you face different rules.
True.
And Indonesia, you have to know, like 300 languages are spoken in Indonesia, and they are very culturally diversified. So now they also diversify the law, but I think the local people will be happier than before because they can, at least they have some self-rule.
Right.
Yep.
And also freedom for that kind of creative thought and
Yeah,
independence
that's
and
true.
self-governance.
Yeah.
Definitely. There you go, and that was Dr. Kietkamjorn telling us about the importance of politics and the changes that we
Right.
could expect ahead.
ครับก็ถือว่าได้มุมมองที่น่าสนใจนะครับเกี่ยวกับประเด็นทางด้านของการเมืองในอาเซียนเราครับ
There you go, and that wraps up ASEAN Challenge this week. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again soon next week. For now, สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีครับ